Good morning. Good morning. It's a bright and sunshiny day. Hey, I guess my face is dirty. Maybe she can get that spot off. That dark, my dark. See? Oh, she's getting it off. No, wait. Let me close this door a little bit. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to start setting my alarm. I want to start devotions at 7. So that means I have to set the alarm early, early, early. Don't tell my brother that I left the coffee pot on all night. I cooled it off right away. Mm-mm. Just look at my hand. But we're going to listen to First Kings chapters 1 through 7. Today is the Bible study day. Now, the 25th. Oh, wait. Hold on. Oh, so not next week, the week after. The 25th. That's going to be the Bible study because some specials coming. So today's Friday the 13th. Happy birthday, Leo. You're 12 years old, buddy. Happy birthday. There we go. Are you okay? Okay now? Yeah. Your beard is wet. She was drinking. But I think it's going to be in the afternoon. Oh, guess what? He got through. I don't know why I got hit that. Yes. He got through. Sorry. Sorry. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Robin, if you're listening, don't listen. I realized what I forgot to vote. The little girl didn't get in. How does she feel that a dog beat her out? Please don't let the dog win this. The dog can't handle going to Vegas with all those loud noises. Next week is the final. Oh, I hope they live stream it. Oh, I hope they live stream it. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, Lord, for another. Thank you, Jehovah, for another beautiful day on your beautiful earth. And thank you for allowing us to wake up today. And thank you for what you did for us in the past, present, and what you will do for us in the future. Hold on. Please continue to help Danielle to get stronger. Her leg is getting better. Whatever caused her to fall, please help her with that. Continue to help Tate with his heart condition and cancer. Cindy Lee, rest in peace, Lisa. I have to fix that. Rest in peace, Lisa. Uh, King Charles, Princess Kate, Jen's friend Shannon, and Danielle Fischel. Please help them. They all have cancer, different types, different kinds. Give them physical and mental strength so to beat their disease. as well as Celine Dion, who has stiff person syndrome. Please give her the mental and physical strength to get through it, as well as Jenny, Christina and her daughter, Tiffany and her son, Robin Taylor and family, Miss Diane and daughters, Arnie, Vicky and family, Carol and mom. Please help them, give them physical and mental strength to get through and to deal with their mental issues and medical issues. In Jesus' name, amen. That's better. I kept feeling it here, but then the hair disappeared. Oh, that's right. Hold on. You cannot see the screen. I forgot. Hold on. So let's see. Sorry. I gotta be careful. Oh, you can find the app on Android and iOS. It's called JW Library, and you can go to jw.org, and they have stuff. They have stuff there. The app is wonderful.
The First of Kings, Chapter 1. Now King David was old, advanced in years, and although they would cover him with garments, he could not get warm. So his servants said to him,
"Let a girl, a virgin, be found for my lord the king, and she will wait on the king as his nurse. She will lie in your arms, so that my lord the king may feel warm."
They searched throughout all the territory of Israel for a beautiful girl, and they found Abishag, the Shunammite, and brought her in to the king. The girl was extremely beautiful, and she became the king's nurse and waited on him. But the king did not have sexual relations with her. Meanwhile, Adonijah, the son of Haggith, was exalting himself, saying,
"I am going to be king."
He had a chariot made for himself, with horsemen and 50 men to run before him. But his father had never confronted him by saying, "Why have you done this?" He was also very handsome, and his mother had given birth to him after Absalom. He conferred with Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and Abiathar the priest, and they offered Adonijah help and support. But Zadok the priest, Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, Nathan the prophet, Shimei, Rei, and David's mighty warriors did not support Adonijah. Eventually, Adonijah held a sacrifice of sheep, cattle, and fattened animals by the stone of Zoheleth, which is near En Rogel. And he invited all his brothers, the king's sons, and all the men of Judah, the king's servants. But he did not invite Nathan the prophet, Benaiah, and the mighty warriors, or Solomon his brother. Nathan then said to Bathsheba, Solomon's mother,
"Have you not heard that Adonijah, the son of Haggith, has become king? And our Lord David does not know anything about it. So now come, please, and let me advise you, so that you may save your own life and the life of your son Solomon. Go in to King David and say to him, was it not you, my lord the king, who swore to your servant, saying, your son Solomon will become king after me, and he is the one who will sit on my throne? So why has Adonijah become king? While you are still there speaking with the king, I will come in after you and confirm your words.
So Bathsheba went into the king, into his private room. The king was very old, and Abishag the Shunammite was waiting on the king. Then Bathsheba bowed low and prostrated herself to the king. And the king said,
What is your request?
She replied,
My lord, it was you who swore by Jehovah your God to your servant, your son Solomon will become king after me, and he is the one who will sit on my throne. But look, Adonijah has become king, and my lord the king does not know anything about it. He sacrificed bulls, fattened animals, and sheep in great quantity, and invited all the sons of the king, and Abiathar the priest, and Joab the chief of the army. But he did not invite your servant Solomon. And now, my lord the king, the eyes of all Israel are upon you, to tell them who will sit on the throne of my lord the king after him. Otherwise, as soon as my lord the king is laid to rest with his forefathers, I and also my son Solomon will be considered traitors.
and while she was still speaking to the king, Nathan the prophet came in. At once the king was told,
Here is Nathan the prophet.
He came in before the king and prostrated himself to the king with his face to the ground. Then Nathan said,
my lord the king, did you say Adonijah will become king after me, and he is the one who will sit on my throne? For today he has gone down to sacrifice bulls, fattened animals, and sheep in great quantity, and he has invited all the sons of the king, and the chiefs of the army, and Abiathar the priest. They are there, eating and drinking with him, and they keep saying, long live King Adonijah. But he did not invite me, your servant, or Zadok the priest, or Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, or your servant Solomon. Has my lord the king authorized this, without telling your servant who should sit on the throne of my lord the king after him?
King David now answered.
Call Bathsheba for me.
At that she came in and stood before the king. The king then swore an oath.
As surely as Jehovah is living, the one who rescued me out of all distress, just as I swore to you by Jehovah the God of Israel, saying, your son Solomon will become king after me, and he is the one who will sit on my throne in my place. That is what I will bring about this day.
Then Bathsheba bowed low with her face to the ground and prostrated herself to the king and said,
May my lord King David live forever.
Immediately King David said,
Call for me Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada.
So they came in before the king. The king said to them,
Take with you the servants of your lord, and have my son Solomon ride on my own mule, and lead him down to Gihon. Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet will anoint him there as king over Israel. Then blow the horn and say, Long live King Solomon. Then follow him back, and he will come in and sit on my throne. And he will be king in my place, and I will commission him as leader over Israel and over Judah.
At once Benaiah the son of Jehoiada said to the king,
Amen. May Jehovah, the God of my lord the king, confirm it. Just as Jehovah was with my lord the king, so let him be with Solomon, and may he make his throne greater than the throne of my lord King David.
Then Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, And the Kerethites and the Pelethites went down and had Solomon ride on the mule of King David, and they brought him to Gihon. Zadok the priest now took the horn of oil out of the tent and anointed Solomon. And they began to blow the horn, and all the people began shouting,
"Long live King Solomon!"
After that, all the people followed him and went up, playing flutes and rejoicing greatly, so that the earth was split open by their noise. Adonijah and all those invited by him heard it when they had finished eating. As soon as Joab heard the sound of the horn, he said,
"Why is there such a noisy uproar in the city?"
While he was still speaking, Jonathan, the son of Abiathar the priest, came. Then Adonijah said,
Come in, for you are a good man, and you must bring good news.
But Jonathan answered Adonijah,
No, our Lord King David has made Solomon king. The king sent with him Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and they had him ride on the mule of the king. Then Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anointed him as king in Gihon. After that they came up from there rejoicing, and the city is in an uproar. That was the noise that you heard. Moreover, Solomon has sat down on the royal throne. Another thing, the servants of the king have come in to congratulate our Lord King David, saying, May your God make Solomon's name more splendid than your name, and may he make his throne greater than your throne. At that the king bowed down on the bed. And the king also said, May Jehovah the God of Israel be praised, who today has granted someone to sit on my throne, and has allowed my own eyes to see it.
And all those invited by Adonijah became terrified, and each of them rose up and went his own way. Adonijah was also afraid because of Solomon, so he got up and went and grabbed hold of the horns of the altar. The report was made to Solomon.
Here Adonijah has become afraid of King Solomon, and he has taken hold of the horns of the altar, saying, Let King Solomon first swear to me that he will not put his servant to death by the sword.
To this Solomon said,
If he behaves in a worthy manner, not a single hair of his will fall to the ground. But if what is bad is found in him, he will have to die.
So King Solomon sent for him to be brought down from the altar. Then he came in and bowed down to King Solomon, after which Solomon said to him,
Go to your own house.
Chapter 2. When the time of David's death drew near, he gave his son Solomon these instructions.
I am about to die. Therefore, be strong and prove yourself a man. You must keep your obligation to Jehovah, your God, by walking in his ways and by observing his statutes, his commandments, his judgments, and his reminders as they are written in the law of Moses. Then you will succeed in everything you do and everywhere you turn. And Jehovah will carry out his promise that he made concerning me. If your sons pay attention to their way by walking faithfully before me with all their heart and soul, there will never fail to be a man of your line sitting on the throne of Israel. You also well know what Joab, the son of Zeruiah, did to me, what he did to 2 chiefs of the armies of Israel, Abner, the son of Ner, and Amasa, the son of Jether. He killed them, shedding the blood of war in peacetime, and he put the blood of war on the belt around his waist and on the sandals on his feet. You must act according to your wisdom, and not let his gray hairs go down in peace to the grave. But toward the sons of Barzillai the Gileadite, you should show loyal love, and they should be among those eating at your table. For that was how they stood by me when I ran away from your brother Absalom. There is also with you Shimei, the son of Gera the Benjaminite from Bahurim. He was the one who cursed me with a vicious curse on the day that I was going to Mahanaim. But when he came down to meet me at the Jordan, I swore to him by Jehovah, I will not put you to death by the sword. Now do not leave him unpunished, for you are a wise man, and you know what you should do to him. You must bring his gray hairs down to the grave with blood.
Then David was laid to rest with his forefathers, and was buried in the city of David. The length of David's reign over Israel was 40 years. In Hebron he reigned for 7 years, and in Jerusalem he reigned for 33 years. Solomon then sat down on the throne of David his father, and gradually his kingship became firmly established. In time, Adonijah, the son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, Solomon's mother. She asked,
Is your coming peaceable?
He replied,
It is peaceable.
He then said,
I have something to say to you.
So she said,
Speak.
He continued,
You well know that the kingship was to become mine, and all Israel expected me to become king. But the kingship eluded me and became my brother's, for it was from Jehovah that it became his. But now, there is just one request that I am making of you. Do not turn me away.
So she said to him.
Speak.
He then said,
Please, ask Solomon the king, for he will not turn you away, to give me Abishag the Shunammite as a wife.
To this Bathsheba said,
Very well. I will speak for you to the king.
So Bathsheba went in to King Solomon to speak to him for Adonijah. At once the king rose to meet her and bowed down to her. Then he sat down on his throne, and had a throne set for the king's mother, so that she could sit at his right. She then said,
There is one small request that I am making of you. Do not turn me away.
So the king said to her,
Make it, my mother, for I will not turn you away.
She said,
Let Abishag the Shunammite be given as a wife to your brother Adonijah.
At this King Solomon answered his mother,
Why are you requesting Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah? You may as well request the kingship for him, for he is my older brother, and supporting him are Abiathar the priest and Joab the son of Zeruiah.
With that King Solomon swore by Jehovah,
So may God do to me and add to it, if it was not at the cost of his own life that Adonijah made this request. And now, as surely as Jehovah is living, who has firmly established me and seated me on the throne of David my father, and who made a house for me, just as he promised, Adonijah will be put to death today.
King Solomon immediately sent Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, who went out and struck Adonijah down, and he died. To Abiathar the priest the king said,
Go to your fields in Anathoth. You deserve to die, but on this day I will not put you to death, because you carried the ark of the sovereign Lord Jehovah before David my father, and because you shared in all the hardships that my father suffered.
So Solomon drove Abiathar out from serving as a priest of Jehovah, to fulfill Jehovah's word against the house of Eli in Shiloh. When the news reached Joab, for Joab had supported Adonijah, but he had not supported Absalom, Joab fled to the tent of Jehovah and grabbed hold of the horns of the altar. Then King Solomon was told,
Joab has fled to the tent of Jehovah, and he is there beside the altar.
So Solomon sent Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, saying,
Go, strike him down.
So Benaiah went to the tent of Jehovah and said to him,
This is what the king says. Come out.
But he said,
No, I will die here.
Benaiah brought word back to the king.
This is what Joab said, and this is what he answered me.
Then the king said to him,
Do just as he said. Strike him down and bury him, and remove from me and from the house of my father the blood that Joab spilled without just cause. Jehovah will bring his blood back on his own head. For without my father David's knowledge, he struck down and killed with the sword 2 men more righteous and better than he was, Abner the son of Ner, the chief of the army of Israel, and Amasa the son of Jether, the chief of the army of Judah. Their blood will come back on the head of Joab, and on the head of his offspring forever. But for David, his offspring, his house, and his throne, may there be peace from Jehovah forever.
Then Benaiah the son of Jehoiada went up and struck Joab down and put him to death, and he was buried at his own house in the wilderness. Then the king appointed Benaiah the son of Jehoiada over the army in his place, and the king appointed Zadok the priest in place of Abiathar. Then the king summoned Shimei and said to him,
Build yourself a house in Jerusalem and live there.
Hi, Carol.
Do not go out from there to any other place. On the day you go out and cross the Kidron Valley, you can be sure that you will die. Your blood will be on your own head.
Shimei replied to the king,
What you have said is fair. Your servant will do just as my lord the king has said.
So Shimei stayed in Jerusalem for many days. But at the end of 3 years, 2 of Shimei's slaves ran away to Achish, the son of Maacah, the king of Gath. When Shimei was told,
Look, your slaves are in Gath.
Shimei immediately saddled his donkey and went to see Achish in Gath to find his slaves. When Shimei returned from Gath with his slaves, Solomon was told,
Shimei has gone out of Jerusalem to Gath and has returned.
At that the king summoned Shimei and said to him,
Did I not put you under oath by Jehovah and warn you? On the day you go out from here to any other place, you can be sure that you will die? And did you not say to me, What you are saying is fair, I will obey? Why then did you not keep the oath of Jehovah and the commandment that I imposed on you?
The king then said to Shimei,
You know in your heart all the injury that you did to David my father, and Jehovah will bring back that injury on your own head. But King Solomon will be blessed, and the throne of David will be firmly established before Jehovah forever.
With that the king commanded Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, who went out and struck him down, and he died. Thus the kingdom was firmly established in the hand of Solomon.
Yes, I can
Chapter 3.
see this picture and listen to it
Solomon
at the
made a
same time.
marriage alliance with Pharaoh, king of Egypt. He married Pharaoh's daughter and brought her to the city of David until he finished building his own house and the house of Jehovah and the wall around Jerusalem. But the people were still sacrificing on the high places because until that time a house for the name of Jehovah had not yet been built. Solomon continued to love Jehovah by walking in the statutes of David his father, except that he was sacrificing and making offering smoke on the high places. The king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the most prominent high place. Solomon offered 1,000 burnt sacrifices on that altar. In Gibeon, Jehovah appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask what you would like me to give you." At this, Solomon said,
You have shown great loyal love toward your servant David, my father, as he walked before you in faithfulness and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart. You have continued to show him this great loyal love down to this day by giving him a son to sit on his throne. And now, Jehovah my God, You have made your servant king in the place of David my father, though I am just a youth, and I am inexperienced. Your servant is among your people whom you have chosen, a people so vast that they cannot be numbered or counted. So grant your servant an obedient heart to judge your people, to discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this numerous people of yours?
It was pleasing to Jehovah that Solomon had requested this. God then said to him, "Because you requested this, and you did not request for yourself long life, or riches, or the death of your enemies, but you requested understanding to hear judicial cases, I will do what you asked. I will give you a wise and understanding heart, so that just as there has never been anyone like you before, there will never be anyone like you again. Furthermore, what you have not requested I will give you, both riches and glory, so that there will be no other king like you in your lifetime. And if you walk in my ways, by keeping my regulations and my commandments, just as David your father walked, I will also give you a long life." When Solomon awoke, he realized that it had been a dream. Then he went to Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of Jehovah, and offered up burnt sacrifices and communion offerings, and spread a feast for all his servants. At that time, 2 prostitutes came into the king and stood before him. The first woman said,
Please, my lord, this woman and I live in one house, and I gave birth while she was in the house. On the 3rd day after I gave birth, this woman also gave birth. We were together, just the 2 of us. There was no one else with us in the house. During the night, this woman's son died because she lay on him. So she got up in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while your slave girl was asleep, and laid him in her arms. And she laid her dead son in my arms. When I got up in the morning to nurse my son, I saw that he was dead. So I examined him closely in the morning and saw that it was not my son whom I had given birth to.
But the other woman said,
No, my son is the living one, and your son is the dead one.
But the first woman was saying,
No, your son is the dead one, and my son is the living one.
That is how they argued before the king. Finally, the king said,
This one says, This is my son, the living one, and your son is the dead one. And that one says, No, your son is the dead one, and my son is the living one.
The king said,
Bring me a sword.
So they brought a sword to the king. The king then said,
Cut the living child in 2, and give half to one woman and half to the other.
At once, the woman whose son was the living one pleaded with the king, for her compassions were stirred toward her son. She said,
Please, my lord, you should give her the living child. By no means put him to death.
But the other woman was saying,
He will be neither mine nor yours. Let them cut him in 2.
At that the king answered,
Give the living child to the first woman. By no means put him to death, for she is his mother.
So all Israel heard about the judgment that the king had handed down, and they were in awe of the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was with him to execute justice. Chapter 4.
I just want to say I switched it back to this iPad because I got to stop this when it gets to chapter 7. You know.
King Solomon ruled over all Israel. These were his high officials. Azariah, the son of Zadok, was the priest. Elihoreph and Ahijah, the sons of Shisha, were secretaries. Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was the recorder. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was in charge of the army. Zadok and Abiathar were priests. Azariah, the son of Nathan, was over the deputies. Zabad, the son of Nathan, was a priest and the king's friend. Ahishar was over the household, and Adoniram, the son of Abda, was over those conscripted for forced labor. Solomon had 12 deputies in charge of all Israel, who provided the king and his household with food. Each one was responsible for providing the food for 1 month of the year. These were their names: the son of Hur, in the mountainous region of Ephraim; the son of Deker, in Makaz, Shaalbim, Bethshemesh, and Elon Bethhanan; the son of Hesed, in Arubboth. He had Soko and all the land of Hepher; the son of Abinadab, in all the slopes of Dor. Solomon's daughter Taphath became his wife. Baana, the son of Ahilud, in Taanach, Megiddo, and all Bethshean, which is beside Zarathan, below Jezreel, from Bethshean to Abel-Meholah, to the region of Jokmeam. The son of Geber, in Ramoth-Gilead. He had the tent villages of Jair, the son of Manasseh, which are in Gilead. He also had the region of Argob, which is in Bashan, 60 large cities with walls and copper bars. Ahinadab, the son of Iddo, in Mahanaim. Ahimaaz, in Naphtali. He took Basemath, another of Solomon's daughters, as his wife. Baana, the son of Hushai, in Asher and Bealoth. Jehoshaphat, the son of Peruah, in Issachar. Shimei, the son of Elah, in Benjamin. Geber, the son of Uri, in the land of Gilead, the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and of Og, king of Bashan. There was also one deputy in charge of all these other deputies in the land. Judah and Israel were as numerous as the grains of sand by the sea. They were eating and drinking and rejoicing. Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms from the river to the land of the Philistines, and to the boundary of Egypt. They brought tribute and served Solomon all the days of his life. Solomon's food for each day was 30 core measures of fine flour and 60 core measures of flour, 10 fattened cattle, 20 pastured cattle, and 100 sheep, besides some stags, gazelles, roebucks, and fattened cuckoos. For he controlled everything this side of the river, from Tifsah to Gaza, including all the kings on this side of the river, and he enjoyed peace in every region all around him. Judah and Israel lived in security, everyone under his own vine and under his own fig tree, from Dan to Beersheba, all the days of Solomon. And Solomon had 4,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, and 12,000 horses. These deputies supplied food to King Solomon and to everyone who ate at the table of King Solomon. Each was responsible for his month and saw to it that nothing was lacking. They also brought barley and straw wherever it was needed for the horses and for the teams of horses, each according to his quota. And God gave Solomon wisdom and discernment in very great measure, and broadness of heart like the sand on the seashore. Solomon's wisdom surpassed the wisdom of all the people of the East and all the wisdom of Egypt. He was wiser than any other man, wiser than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, Calcol, and Darda, the sons of Mahol. His fame spread among all the surrounding nations. He composed 3,000 proverbs, and his songs numbered 1,005. He would speak about the trees, from the cedar in Lebanon to the hyssop that grows on the wall. He would speak about the animals, the birds, the creeping things, and the fish. People from all the nations came to hear Solomon's wisdom, including kings from all over the earth who had heard about his wisdom. Chapter 5. When Hiram, the king of Tyre, heard that Solomon had been anointed as king in place of his father, he sent his servants to Solomon, for Hiram had always been a friend of David's. In turn, Solomon sent word to Hiram,
Sorry.
You well know that David my father was not able to build a house for the name of Jehovah his God because of the wars waged against him from every side, until Jehovah put his enemies under the soles of his feet. But now Jehovah my God has given me rest on all sides. There is no one opposing me, and nothing bad happening. So I intend to build a house for the name of Jehovah my God, just as Jehovah promised to David my father, saying, Your son, whom I will put on your throne in your place, he is the one who will build the house for my name. Now command your people to cut cedars of Lebanon for me. My servants will work with your servants, and I will pay the wages of your servants according to the rate you set. For you are aware that not one of us knows how to cut trees like the Sidonians.
When Hiram heard Solomon's words, he rejoiced greatly and said,
May Jehovah be praised today, for he has given David a wise son over this great people.
So Hiram sent word to Solomon,
I have heard the message you sent to me. I will do all you desire in providing the cedar and juniper timbers. My servants will bring them down from Lebanon to the sea, and I will make them into log rafts to go by sea to the place that you designate to me. I will have them broken up there, and you can carry them away. In exchange, you will provide the food that I request for my household.
So Hiram supplied all the timbers of cedar and juniper that Solomon desired. And Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 core measures of wheat as food supplies for his household, and 20 core measures of very fine olive oil. That was what Solomon gave Hiram year after year. And Jehovah gave Solomon wisdom, just as he had promised him. And there was peace between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty. King Solomon conscripted men for forced labor out of all Israel. 30,000 men were conscripted. He would send them to Lebanon in shifts of 10,000 each month. They would spend a month in Lebanon and 2 months at their homes. And Adoniram was over those conscripted for forced labor. Solomon had 70,000 common laborers and 80,000 stonecutters in the mountains, as well as Solomon's 3,300 princely deputies, who served as foremen to supervise the workmen. At the king's order, they quarried large stones, expensive stones, to lay the foundation of the house with hewn stones. So Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders and the Gebalites did the cutting, and they prepared the timbers and the stones to build the house.
Yeah, Carol's not here no more.
Chapter 6. In the 480th year after the Israelites came out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year after Solomon became king over Israel, in the month of Ziv, that is the 2nd month, he began to build the house of Jehovah. The house that King Solomon built for Jehovah was 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. The porch in front of the temple was 20 cubits long, corresponding to the width of the house. Its depth was 10 cubits from the front of the house. He made windows of narrowing frames for the house. Further, he built a side structure against the wall of the house. It went around the walls of the house, those of the temple and the innermost room, and he made side chambers all around. The lowest level of the side chambers was 5 cubits wide. The middle level was 6 cubits wide, and the third level was 7 cubits wide. For he made offsets all around the house, so that nothing was attached to the walls. The house was built with quarry stone that had already been prepared, so that no hammers or axes or any iron tools were heard in the house while it was being built. The entrance of the lowest side chamber was on the south side of the house, and a winding staircase led up to the middle floor, and from the middle floor up to the 3rd floor. He continued building the house and finished it and covered the house with cedar beams and rows of cedar planks. He built the side chambers all around the house, each 5 cubits high, and they were joined to the house by cedar timbers. Meanwhile, the word of Jehovah came to Solomon, saying, "As for this house that you are building, if you walk in my statutes and carry out my judgments and observe all my commandments by walking in them, I will also carry out with you my promise that I made to David your father, and I will reside in the midst of the Israelites, and I will not forsake my people Israel."
I'm sorry,
Solomon
making
continued
noises.
building the house to finish it. He built the inside walls of the house with cedar boards. He paneled the inside walls with timber from the floor of the house up to the rafters of the ceiling, and he overlaid the floor of the house with juniper boards. And he built a section of 20 cubits at the rear of the house with cedar boards, from the floor up to the rafters. And he built inside of it the innermost room, the most holy. And the temple, the part of the house in front of it, was 40 cubits. The cedar inside the house was carved with gourds and flowers in bloom. All of it was cedar. No stone was seen. And he prepared the innermost room inside the house to put there the ark of the covenant of Jehovah. The innermost room was 20 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 20 cubits high, and he overlaid it with pure gold. He overlaid the altar with cedar. Solomon overlaid the interior of the house with pure gold, and he stretched gold chains in front of the innermost room, which was overlaid with gold. He overlaid the whole house with gold until all the house was completed. He also overlaid with gold the entire altar near the innermost room. In the innermost room he made 2 cherubs of pine wood, each 10 cubits high. One wing of the cherub measured 5 cubits, and the other wing was 5 cubits. From the tip of one wing to the tip of the other wing was 10 cubits. The second cherub was also 10 cubits. The 2 cherubs had the same size and shape. The height of the one cherub was 10 cubits, as was that of the other cherub. Then he put the cherubs inside the inner house. The wings of the cherubs were extended so that the wing of the one cherub reached to one wall, and the wing of the other cherub reached to the other wall. And their wings extended toward the middle of the house, so that the wings touched. And he overlaid the cherubs with gold. And on all the walls of the house, all around both the inner and outer rooms, he carved figures of cherubs, palm trees, and flowers in bloom. He overlaid the floor of the house with gold in the inner and outer rooms. And for the entrance of the innermost room, he made doors of pine wood, side pillars, and doorposts as a 5th part. The 2 doors were of pine wood, and he carved on them cherubs, palm trees, and flowers in bloom, and he overlaid them with gold. And he hammered the gold down over the cherubs and the palm trees. For the entrance of the temple, that was how he made the doorposts of pine wood, belonging to a 4th part. And he made 2 doors of juniper wood. The one door had 2 leaves that turned on pivots, and the other door had 2 leaves that turned on pivots. He carved cherubs, palm trees, and flowers in bloom, and overlaid gold foil on the carvings. He built the inner courtyard with 3 rows of hewn stone and a row of cedar beams. In the 4th year, in the month of Ziv, the house of Jehovah had its foundation laid. And in the 11th year, in the month of Bul, that is the 8th month, the house was finished in all its details and according to its plan. So he spent 7 years building it. Chapter 7. And it took Solomon 13 years to build his own house, until his whole house was completed. And he built the house of the forest of Lebanon, 100 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high, on 4 rows of cedar pillars. And there were cedar beams on the pillars. It was paneled above with cedar on the girders that rested on the pillars. They numbered 45, with 15 to a row. There were 3 rows of framed windows, and each window was opposite another window in 3 tiers. All the entrances and the doorposts had square frames, as did the front of the windows that were opposite each other in 3 tiers. And he built the hall of pillars, 50 cubits long and 30 cubits wide, and there was a porch in front of it, with pillars and a canopy. He also built the hall of the throne where he would judge, the hall of judgment, and they paneled it with cedar from the floor to the rafters. The house where he was to live, at the other courtyard, was set back from the hall, and it was similar in workmanship. He also built a house similar to this hall for Pharaoh's daughter, whom Solomon had taken as a wife. All of these were made of expensive stones, hewn according to measure, trimmed with stone saws inside and out, from the foundation up to the coping, and outside as far as the great courtyard. And the foundation was laid with very large expensive stones. Some stones measured 10 cubits, and other stones 8 cubits. And above these were expensive stones hewn according to measure, as well as cedar. Around the great courtyard were 3 rows of hewn stone and a row of cedar beams, like that for the inner courtyard of the house of Jehovah and the porch of the house. King Solomon sent for Hiram and brought him from Tyre. He was the son of a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a Tyrian coppersmith. And he had great skill, understanding, and experience for all kinds of work in copper. So he came to King Solomon and did all his work. He cast the 2 pillars of copper. Each pillar was 18 cubits high, and it took a measuring cord 12 cubits long to encircle each of the 2 pillars. And he made 2 capitals cast in copper to put on the tops of the pillars. One capital was 5 cubits high, and the other capital was 5 cubits high. The capital on top of each pillar had mesh network with wreathed chains, 7 for the one capital and 7 for the other capital. And he made pomegranates in 2 rows around the one network to cover the capitals that were on the top of the pillars. He did the same for both capitals. The capitals on top of the pillars at the porch were of a lily pattern, 4 cubits high. The capitals were on the 2 pillars just above the rounded portion adjoining the network. And there were 200 pomegranates in rows all around on each capital. He set up the pillars of the porch of the temple. He set up the right-hand pillar and named it Jachin. And then he set up the left-hand pillar and named it Boaz. And the top of the pillars were of a lily pattern. So the work of the pillars was completed. Then he made the sea of cast metal. It was circular in shape, 10 cubits from brim to brim, and 5 cubits high. And it took a measuring line 30 cubits long to encircle it. And there were ornamental gourds below its brim, completely encircling it, 10 to a cubit all around the sea, with 2 rows of the gourds cast in one piece with it. It stood on 12 bulls, 3 facing north, 3 facing west, 3 facing south, and 3 facing east. And the sea rested on them, and all their hind quarters were toward the center. And its thickness was a handbreadth, and its brim was made like the brim of a cup, like a lily blossom. It would hold 2,000 bath measures. Then he made the 10 carriages of copper. Each carriage was 4 cubits long, 4 cubits wide, and 3 cubits high. And this was how the carriages were constructed. They had side panels, and the side panels were between the crossbars. And on the side panels between the crossbars were lions, bulls, and cherubs, and the same design was on the crossbars. Above and beneath the lions and the bulls were wreaths in relief. And each carriage had 4 copper wheels and copper axles, and its 4 corner pieces served as supports for them. Beneath the basin were the supports, cast with wreaths at the side of each. Its opening was inside the crown, extending upward 1 cubit, and its opening was round, making up a stand of 1.5 cubits. And on its mouth were engravings, and their side panels were square, not round. The 4 wheels were below the side panels, and the supports of the wheels were attached to the carriage, and the height of each wheel was 1.5 cubits. And the wheels were made like chariot wheels. Their supports, rims, spokes, and hubs were all of cast metal. There were 4 supports on the 4 corners of each carriage. Its supports were cast as part of the carriage. On top of the carriage was a circular band, 1/2 cubit high, and on the top of the carriage its framing pieces and its side panels were cast as part of it. On the surfaces of its framing pieces and on its side panels he engraved cherubs, lions, and palm trees, according to the amount of space on each, with wreaths all around. This is how he made the 10 carriages. They were all cast alike, with the same measure and shape. He made 10 copper basins. Each could hold 40 bath measures. Each basin measured 4 cubits. There was 1 basin for each of the 10 carriages. Then he put 5 carriages on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house. And he placed the sea on the right side of the house toward the southeast. Hiram also made the basins, the shovels, and the bowls. So Hiram finished all the work that he did for King Solomon on the house of Jehovah. The 2 pillars and the bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the 2 pillars, the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the pillars, the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover the 2 bowl-shaped capitals that were on the 2 pillars, the 10 carriages and the 10 basins on the carriages, the sea and the 12 bowls beneath the sea, and the cans, the shovels, the bowls, and all the utensils which Hiram made of polished copper for King Solomon, for the house of Jehovah. The king cast them in clay molds in the district of the Jordan, between Succoth and Zarethan. Solomon left all the utensils unweighed, because they were in such great quantities. The weight of the copper was not ascertained. Solomon made all the utensils for the house of Jehovah: the altar of gold, the gold table on which to put the showbread, the lampstands of pure gold, 5 on the right and 5 on the left before the innermost room, and the blossoms, the lamps, and the snuffers of gold, the basins, the extinguishers, the bowls, the cups, and the fire holders of pure gold, and the sockets for the doors of the inner house, that is, the most holy, and for the doors of the house of the temple of gold. So King Solomon completed all the work he had to do for the house of Jehovah. Solomon then brought in the things that David his father had made holy, and he put the silver, the gold, and the articles into the treasuries of the house of Jehovah. Chapter 8.
No. I did not see that. So, the verse of the day is John 16:24. We will read that now. John chapter 16, verse 24. Until now you have not asked for a single thing in my name. Ask and you will receive, so that your joy may be complete. Yes, definitely. So that is it for today. I'll be live close to 12 noon because it's Bible study day. And I will see you later. Love, don't judge.